The fog rolled thick and heavy over Palo Alto on Wednesday, October 7th, 2025, cloaking the feet of an acre SpaceX estate in a ghostly shroud as dawn broke at 6:00 a.m. The air hung crisp at 52 degrees Fahrenheit, a quiet chill that seeped into the bones of the 5 figures gathered in the estate's control room. Elon Musk stood at the center, his sharp eyes fixed on the Starlight engine core, a $50,000 marvel of steel and crystal that pulsed with a soft, otherworldly glow on a $20,000 workbench. Beside him, Mae Musk clutched the cracked leather journal, her silver hair catching the light, her face etched with the weight of Joshua Haldeman's 54-year sacrifice. Jolie, the 85-year-old nanny who'd once scraped by on $8 an hour, leaned against a console, her trembling hands wrapped around a faded $5 photo of Joshua from 1970, her eyes distant yet fierce. Clara, still pale from her Alaskan injuries, sat with her blood-stained $50 coat draped over her shoulders, her wrench tapping a restless rhythm on the floor. Evelyn Carter, 78 and weathered, stood by the window, her white hair stark against the fog, her rifle propped nearby, a silent sentinel of their hard-won triumph. The core hummed, its light casting eerie shadows across the room, but it was the sound that held them captive. A faint, crackling signal that had flickered to life just hours ago, as they'd unwound from the chaos of Alaska. A child's voice, small and clear, broke through the static. "Grandpa said you'd come." The words looped, fragile yet insistent, traced by Lucia's SpaceX team to a remote spot 1,000 miles east in Montana. Now, as the signal played again, the room fell silent, the weight of its mystery pressing down like the fog outside. Elon's fingers tightened around the workbench's edge, his voice low but electric. "That's no random transmission," he said, his mind racing with the precision of a man who'd built empires. "It's tied to the engine, tied to Dad. Lucia's got the coordinates locked. Montana, some nowhere patch in the wilds. But this voice..." He trailed off, glancing at Evelyn. "You recognize it?" Evelyn's lips thinned, her gaze flickering to the photo in Jolie's hands. "It's impossible," she murmured, her voice rough with decades of solitude. "That tone, that cadence, it's like Lily's, my daughter with Joshua. She was 5 when he crashed in 71, recorded her voice on a $5,000 tape I kept. But this, it's fresh. Alive." Mae's breath caught, her hands trembling on the journal. "Lily?" she whispered, her eyes welling with a mother's grief and a widow's hope. "You had a child with him? And never told me?" Evelyn turned, her face crumpling under the weight of 54 years. "I couldn't, Mae. Joshua made me swear. After the coalition turned on him, after Pete and Voss betrayed him, he said she'd be safer hidden. I raised her alone, $200 a month in a shack, until she left me in 95. Died of fever, I thought. But if this voice is her blood..." Her voice broke, and she gripped the window frame, staring into the fog as if it held answers. Clara stopped tapping her wrench, her sharp eyes narrowing. "So what, a grandkid? Joshua's got another heir out there and they're calling us? That's no coincidence, not with Voss still loose." Jolie's frail hands tightened on the photo, her arthritic fingers tracing Joshua's young face. 36, frozen in time before the $5,000 crash that changed everything. "The starlight binds us," she said, her Spanish lilt quavering but resolute. "That's what he wrote. 3 hearts, 1 flame. Me, Mae, Evelyn, and now this child. It's not over, Nino." Elon straightened, his jaw set with the resolve that had launched rockets and defied gravity. "Then we go," he said, his voice cutting through the room's haze. "Montana's 2 hours by jet, 1,000 miles east. If this is family, if this ties to the engine, we don't wait for the coalition to find it first." He grabbed his Tesla jacket, already moving toward the hangar. "Lucia, prep the Gulfstream, $70 million of speed. We leave in 20. The group scrambled, the urgency igniting their weary bones. Mae tucked the journal under her arm, her tears dry but her purpose sharp. Clara hauled herself up, wincing as her wounds protested, her wrench clutched like a talisman. Evelyn slung her rifle over her shoulder, her eyes burning with a mother's desperate hope. Jolie shuffled behind, her $25,000 life of quiet struggle now a spark in this unfolding saga. The photo pressed to her chest like a lifeline. The hangar buzzed as the Gulfstream G650 roared to life, its sleek frame glinting through the fog. The core was secured in a reinforced case, its glow muted but alive, and the signal looped again. "Grandpa said you'd come." Each repetition a needle in their hearts. Elon took the controls, his hands steady despite the storm brewing inside him. May sat beside him, her voice soft but firm. "If this is Joshua's blood, it's ours too. We owe him this." The jet lifted off at 6:30 a.m., slicing through the 52-degree Fahrenheit dawn, climbing to 35,000 feet, where the air dropped to a biting 10 degrees Fahrenheit. The fog fell away, revealing a sky streaked with the first light of day. But the cabin's warmth couldn't thaw the chill of uncertainty. Jolie sat near the back, her hands trembling around the photo, her eyes fixed on the horizon. "I knew him at 36, she whispered, half to herself. "Young, wild, dreaming of stars. He'd want us to find her, whoever she is." Clara, strapped in beside her, grimaced as she adjusted her coat, the bloodstains a stark reminder of Alaska's cost. "Yeah, well, he didn't count on Voss," she muttered. "That creep's got the fragment $50 million of betrayal in his pocket. If he's quiet, he's planning. This kid's voice could be a trap." Evelyn turned from her window, her face a mask of guilt and grit. "Lily's daughter, if that's who this is. She'd be 30 now. I lost her when Lily died. Didn't even know she existed. But Joshua, he'd have left something, some sign. That signals his echo, I feel it." Elon's voice crackled over the intercom, steady but edged with fire. "1 hour to Montana. Coordinates put us in the wilds, 1,000 miles from here, 20 miles from anything. No towns, no roads, just pines and snow. Whatever's waiting, we're walking in blind." The jet hummed, the core's signal a constant pulse through the speakers, each loop of the child's voice tightening the knot in their chests. May opened the journal, her fingers tracing a faded entry from 1971. "Lily's my light. 5 years old, laughing in the sun. If I fall, she's my star." A tear slipped down her cheek, splashing onto the page. "He never told me," she said, her voice breaking. "A daughter, and now this. What else did he hide?" Jolie reached over, her gnarled hand resting on May's. "He hid to protect," she said, her eyes glistening. "Like I hid my pain. Errol's words, Pretoria 85 calling me nothing. Joshua saw more. This child, it's his trust in us." The cabin jolted, turbulence rattling the frame as the jet hit a pocket of rough air. Clara cursed, gripping her seat, her face paling. "Not again," she hissed, her breath shallow. Jolie leaned close, her voice dropping to a soft, lilting Spanish lullaby. "Duerme mi niño, bajo las estrellas." The same tune she'd sung to Elon at 6, now a balm for Clara's frayed nerves. The shaking eased, but Jolie's eyes widened, a memory stirring. "The star that fell to earth," she murmured. "A tale I told him, about a child lost, found by light. It's her." Elon's voice cut through, urgent. "Brace, landing's rough. No strip, just dirt. 10 minutes." The jet descended, the Montana wilds looming below, a sea of snow-dusted pines under a 30-degree Fahrenheit sky. The wheels hit hard, skidding 20 miles short of the coordinates, the jolt slamming them against their straps. The core flared, its glow spilling through the cabin, and the signal spiked. "Grandpa said you'd come." Louder now, closer. They stumbled out, the cold biting at their skin, the fog replaced by a crystalline stillness that amplified every sound. Elon hefted the case, his breath clouding. 20 miles on foot, he said, his voice a rallying cry. "She's out there, Joshua's blood. And Voss, he's watching." May clutched the journal, her eyes fierce. "For him," she said. "For us." Jolie stepped forward, her frail frame dwarfed by the pines, the photo trembling in her hands. "The starlight binds us," she whispered, her voice rising. "We're coming, little one." The signal pulsed, a child's echo leading them into the unknown, and the horizon burned with the promise of revelation or ruin. The Gulfstream G650 hummed at 35,000 feet, slicing through the icy Montana sky where the temperature plunged to a biting 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Inside, the cabin glowed with the faint golden pulse of the Starlight engine core, secured in its reinforced case on a table bolted to the floor. The jet had lifted off minutes ago from the rough dirt patch 20 miles short of the Montana coordinates, its engines straining against the turbulence of a storm brewing over the wilds 1,000 miles east of Palo Alto. The child's voice, "Grandpa said you'd come," crackled through the speakers, a haunting loop traced to a cabin still 20 miles ahead, driving the 5 souls aboard toward an unseen reckoning. Elon Musk gripped the controls, his sharp eyes scanning the horizon through the cockpit window, his Tesla jacket slung over the co-pilot's seat. The $70 million jet was his lifeline, a steed of steel and speed. But the weight of the mission pressed heavy on his shoulders. Behind him, in the cabin, Mae Musk sat rigid, the cracked leather journal open on her lap, her silver hair disheveled from the rough landing. Her fingers traced Joshua's words, "Lily's my light," her face a mask of grief and resolve, torn between the husband she'd lost and the daughter she'd never known. Clara slumped beside her, her blood-stained $50 coat draped over her shoulders, her wounded frame trembling from the Alaskan fight, her wrench clutched tight as if it could fend off the exhaustion gnawing at her bones. Evelyn Carter stood near the rear, her white hair stark against the dim light, her 78-year-old hand steady on her rifle, her eyes haunted by the ghost of Lily, a daughter hidden for 54 years. Jolie, the 85-year-old nanny who'd once scrubbed cafe tables for $8 an hour, sat alone, her arthritic hands wrapped around a faded $5 photo of Joshua, her frail figure dwarfed by the cabin's luxury, but her spirit a quiet flame. The jet jolted, a sudden lurch that rattled the walls and sent the core's glow flaring. A sharp golden pulse that synced with the child's voice, louder now, insistent. "Grandpa said you'd come." Clara's wrench clattered to the floor, her breath hitching as she gripped her seat. "Damn it," she rasped, her voice thin with pain. "Can't this thing fly straight for 5 minutes?" Elon's voice crackled over the intercom, steady but taut. "Storm's picking up, 20 miles to the cabin, but the wind's fighting us. Hold on." Mae's hands tightened on the journal, her eyes glistening. "We're so close," she whispered, half to herself. A grandchild, Joshua's blood. After all this time, her voice broke, the weight of 54 years crashing down. A widow's loss, a mother's hope, now tangled in this fragile thread of a child's echo. Jolie's gaze drifted to the photo. Joshua's young face, 36, frozen in 1971, staring back at her. "I raised you, Nino," she murmured, her Spanish lilt quavering. $25,000 of nothing, 2 jobs, bent back, Errol's curses, and now this, a $200 billion fight I can't match. Her hands trembled, the photo slipping slightly, doubt creeping into her lined face. "What am I here for? An old woman slowing you down?" Evelyn turned from the window, her voice rough but firm. "You're here because Joshua trusted you, Jolie. You held his dreams when I couldn't, when Mae couldn't. That voice, it's Lily's blood. You're part of this." Clara snorted, wincing as she shifted. "Yeah, well, trust's great until we're all dead. Voss is out there, $50 million psycho with that fragment. I'm half broke, and we're flying blind into who knows what. We're a mess." The jet bucked again, a violent shudder that sent the core's case sliding an inch before Elon's quick hand steadied it from the cockpit. The child's voice spiked. "Grandpa said you'd come," and the cabin lights flickered, plunging them into a heartbeat of darkness before snapping back. Clara's face paled, her breath shallow, her eyes wide with a panic she couldn't hide. "Not again," she gasped, her hands clawing at her straps. "Not again. I can't." Jolie dropped the photo, her frail body moving faster than it had in years. She slid beside Clara, her gnarled hands grasping the younger woman's trembling ones. "Shh, mi niña," she whispered, her voice dropping to a soft, lilting Spanish lullaby. "Duerme, mi niña, bajo las estrellas." The same tune she'd sung to Elon at 6, now a lifeline in the storm. Clara's breathing slowed, her eyes locking on Jolie's, the panic ebbing under the old woman's steady gaze. May watched, her tears spilling silently. "You're not nothing, Jolie," she said, her voice thick. "You never were." Jolie's lips twitched into a faint smile, but her eyes clouded with memory. "Errol said I was 1985, Pretoria. Threw me out, called me a burden, $25,000 of sweat, and I believed him." She paused, the lullaby fading, and her voice hardened. "Until now. The star that fell to earth, a tale I told Joshua, a child lost, found by light. It's her, the missing half of his code." "I remember." Elon's voice cut through, sharp with urgency. "Jolie, say that again, over the comms." She leaned toward the mic, her frail frame trembling but her words clear. "The star that fell to earth," she said. "A shepherd's tale. Joshua loved it. The child's voice, it's the light. The code's in me. Stars guide home. It's not just Montana, it's us." The jet jolted harder. A $1,000 turbulence hit that slammed them against their seats, the core's glow surging into a blinding flash. Alarms blared, red lights pulsing, and Elon's shout echoed from the cockpit. "Engines are choking, storm's too thick. We're dropping, brace!" The cabin tilted, the world spinning as the Gulf Stream plummeted, the altimeter screaming, 30,000 feet, 25,000, 20,000. May clutched the journal, her voice rising in a desperate prayer. "Joshua, hold us!" Evelyn dropped her rifle, grabbing the table, her face grim but unyielding. Clara's hands tightened on Jolie's, her breath ragged but steady, the lullaby's echo holding her together. Jolie pressed the photo to her chest, her eyes blazing with a fire that defied her years. "We're not done," she whispered, her voice a thread of steel. "Not yet." The jet leveled at 10,000 feet, the engines coughing back to life, but the damage was done. Elon's voice rasped over the intercom, strained but alive. "Lost an engine. Landing's forced. 5 miles out, dirt again. Hold tight." The descent was a nightmare, the cabin rattling like a tin can in a tornado, the core's signal spiking with every jolt. "Grandpa said you'd come." Until the wheels hit the Montana wilds with a bone-jarring thud. Snow sprayed against the windows, the jet skidding to a stop in a 30-degree Fahrenheit clearing. Pines looming like silent giants. The lights dimmed, the engines whined to silence, and the child's voice looped once more, louder, closer, a beacon in the chaos. Elon stumbled from the cockpit, his face smeared with sweat, his eyes fierce. "We're down," he said, grabbing the core's case. 5 miles to the cabin. On foot, no choice. Clara unstrapped, her legs shaky but her jaw set. "Still alive," she muttered, snatching her wrench. "Let's not waste it." May stood. The journal clutched tight, her voice trembling but resolute. "For Lily's child. For Joshua." Evelyn hefted her rifle, her gaze locking on the horizon. "She's out there, my granddaughter. I feel it." Jolie rose last, her frail hand steady as she tucked the photo into her coat, her $25,000 life now a cornerstone of their fight. "The star guides home," she said, her Spanish lilt rising above the silence. "I'm not slowing you. I'm leading you." The hatch hissed open, the cold rushing in like a slap, the snow-dusted wild stretching endless before them. The core's glow spilled out, lighting their path, and the child's voice called again. "Grandpa said you'd come." A promise and a plea. Their alliance, fragile as the jet's battered frame, teetered on the edge, tested by doubt and storm, but held by a thread of courage born in Jolie's lullaby. Elon stepped into the snow, his voice a rallying cry. 5 miles, he said. We find her, together. The wind howled, the pines whispered, and the starlight burned on, fragile but unbroken, pulling them toward the unknown.